Well, welcome back to another episode of A Founder's Journey. And again, this is brought to you by the Tech on a Circle. And I know I say this every time, but I'm so excited about my next guest. He is the co-founder and CEO of SpeechCloud. He has a master's degree in entrepreneurship. And so without further ado, it's Cam Stoker. And so Cam, thank you so much for coming and being here with me today.
Of course, happy to be here.
Well, let's get right into it. So tell me, with a master's in entrepreneurship, obviously this is something you want to pursue. So tell me what brought you to that point?
Yeah, it wasn't intentional. I didn't actually go to pursue entrepreneurship. It started out, so I'll give you kind of just the rundown. Married my wife, and this plays an important factor, but when I married my wife, I married into about $60,000 in debt.
Okay.
And I was going to BYU at the time, and poor college student, no money. Yeah. All of a sudden, 60 grand in debt, and was like, got to pay this off. And I ended up working my way into Google. And so I put my schooling on pause and I went and worked at Google for a few years, rose through the ranks there. And then I came back to BYU. I quit Google and came back to BYU to finish my undergrad. And this is kind of where really the journey started. Is when I came back, I met a friend who was deaf. And so we started becoming friends in this stats class we were in. And I kind of learned about what it was like. She had this guy that would sit there and type away what was being said by the professor so that she could, actually participate in class. And I was a little, surprised by this. I wasn't that familiar with just accommodations and accessibility. And I'd been very blessed in my life to not have to have these struggles. And, befriending this girl, and I'll leave her nameless, but after learning about what she struggled with, a friend and I came together, and there's a hackathon. It was called Prototype-A-Palooza at BYU. And he and I, for fun, at this hackathon, there was like 36 hours straight. You stay overnight and you just build, a product in that time frame. We built an AI transcription software that would transcribe what was being said by the professor and send it to her phone. Because again, one is just having this person that wasn't very good doing it was terrible. But number two, it made her stand out. That was kind of this big issue. So we did that, and then she loved what we had done for her and loved the product. And kind of started telling some of her friends, and they started using it. And that's really how SpeechCloud started. It was unintentionally. I had really just come back to finish my undergrad, but we had learned from her and from a bunch of others. We're like, well, this is something, right? This is something we could go do and build and help this community. So we actually ended up going and, starting to sell this and go to what are called accessibility centers at universities and institutions, and got a good handful of these accessibility centers using our product kind of across the US. But long story short, COVID hit and we lost everything because there's no more in-person classrooms. So we lost every customer. We kind of lost it, but that was kind of the final nail in the coffin, in all honesty, because, and this is something I'd like to talk about, which is social impact companies can be difficult, because when you are a product focused on helping a marginalized community, many times there's not a lot of money in that specific avenue. That's why there's a lot of nonprofits. And so basically we had two ways we could take this. Was either go take this nonprofit and go try to get money and yada, 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 or we could take this to a for-profit and provide some kind of value to the institutions and the teachers, and inadvertently, help students with disabilities, because that had become our passion and the point of our product. And so that brings me, I guess, now to the master's, right? Is I at this point, right, when COVID hit, I had dropped out of BYU to run this company. And when we lost everything, I went back to BYU, pounded out about 14 credits in a month, because I had a month deadline in which to apply for this master's. So pounded out 14 credits.
Wow.
Finished my degree.
That's impressive in itself.
The beauty of online, people don't talk about it, but I feel like I did way better just pounding them out, working on them 12, 16 hours a day. Because when I would go take the final 3 days later after starting the class, man, I knew the material.
Wow.
So So yeah, that's kind of what led me to the master's, which basically was the goal of determining, how do I pivot and make this company a for-profit valuable company. So yeah, I can stop there, but that's kind of
But
the
yeah,
journey to there.
actually going back to this a little bit. So you had no intention. Entrepreneurship was not your world before this, right? You had other. What was your goals originally? What were you planning on doing before this?
I was planning. I came back to BYU to finish my degree in economics because I was doing data science at Google. So I wanted to go back to Google with a degree
Okay.
and be able to do a little bit better job with
Okay.
kind of a base point. That was my intention. Yeah.
Okay. So you plan on keep go do data science and with economics, which would be a great degree for that. But then all of a sudden you say you met this friend and said, "Hey, this is my new world." And so then you say COVID hit, and then it really hurt the business. So what was the hope then? So going getting your master's, what the hope was that you'd be able to turn this around with that, or figure out what was the
Yeah, a bunch of good questions. I think, especially with any entrepreneurs, right, listen to this, and anybody that's in this world, right, like you realize every step as you go along that you have no idea what you're doing, right? and especially for me, where I'd only been in the corporate world for a short period of time. I'd been at a company that, talk about the opposite of a startup, right? We could throw money at something
yeah.
until we, as much as we wanted to, right? Unlimited resources. So there's just so many things that I just didn't know what I was doing. And so this master's, a buddy told me about it. They just started it. I'll highlight it.
Yeah.
It's a phenomenal program. It's at the University of Utah. They just started it. I was the second year of this program. And so the first year, I think, was 2019 to 2020. I was 2020 to 2021. And a bunch of these incredible men and women came together at the U and said, "Hey, we want to actually create something that helps people build a company, understand how to start this company, and understand the pitfalls, and really just start off, kind of at least as smooth sailing as possible as they go to, grow this company." And so that's what this program is. So basically, you would apply. You would already have to have a business to apply to this program at the University of Utah. I think it's only a handful of us in the cohort, like 15, 16. I can't remember exactly off the top of my head, but yeah. So literally, it's a fully scholarship program. Incredible experience. It's an accelerator with an accredited master's. That's what it is.
Okay.
Run by some incredible
people.
Do
they use like a lean model? What do they use, or something like it, or?
Yes and no. I mean, I don't think they would say that they use any model, right? Like, this is the lean model. This is, how to run a startup. I think there's a ton of different models that they use, but what they're really
big conglomerate, huh?
For sure. And I think there's, being an accredited master's, they had a bunch of PhDs. So you have to have, X amount of PhDs, right? So with that in mind, I think there was a lot of kind of theoretical strategic, which I'm not saying isn't valuable. It just wasn't my favorite, right? But I think there's a lot of things positive to learn. But really, it's more like they helped you understand how to correctly identify the problems, how to correctly identify, what are correct solutions to those problems, how to do research, how to build out a financial model that isn't just like this terrible fictitious model, but actually a model that grows with you and you can understand your financials, every month, right? And like project correctly. So like these are things that the program taught me.
So what was the biggest takeaway for you? I mean, how did that affect your business? I mean, bottom line, that sort of thing. What was the?
The biggest takeaway. I think there's a lot of takeaways. So I guess the biggest takeaway, I think, validation. I think what so many people struggle with is there's this ideology of there's a problem, therefore there's a solution. But validation goes a lot further past just, this problem and solution. It's like validation of the revenue model, validation of What are the legal barriers? What are the technological barriers? There's so much more to validation than just problem and solution. And I think that played an important part is, well, yeah, this is a problem. Here's a solution, but like, will people pay for it? Will, like, okay, they'll pay for it, but is it like, will they pay a lot? Will they pay enough? For this to be a sustainable business? Like, there's just so many aspects of validation in terms of sustainability that I think was really what I learned.
And how did it change your business then?
Changed our business drastically, right? We're no longer even close to what we were before, right? We are now an all-in-one teaching platform. So we're software that basically, kind of the 4 value props is that we do all the work of taking these brick and mortar classrooms online. We make those classrooms accessible. We provide tools for teachers to engage their students, and we gather course analytics. An important distinction and understanding of this is, again, our original goal was to make classrooms accessible for students with disabilities, but you can't do that without providing value to the professors and the teachers, right? The professors need to want your product, and the institutions need to benefit because they pay for the product, right? There's the complexities of selling to medical and institutions is there's multiple points in the product. And so we basically had to deliver and determine and figure out what is it that teachers wanted, so that they were like, I want Speech Cloud in my class, right? And that's the engagement, that's the struggles of dealing with technology in their class. They just want to show up and teach, right? Like, we had to solve those. What did the institutions want? Well, they wanted a better understanding of what was going on in the class, right? And so we gather course analytics, like attendance, how engaged are the students? Are they, comprehending the material? So we like gather stuff like that. And then for the students, which is our original goal, is they now have access to their education, right? Regardless if you have a disability, regardless if you have a job, right? If you miss class, you can still go watch it, and, play a part in it. Like, that's the idea, is we built this platform with kind of those intentions, and we learned a lot of that through the validation from this program.
So that's powerful. So let's go back just a second here. COVID. I mean, business is failing.
This is failing.
You're married. I don't know how your wife felt about entrepreneurship, but I mean, how'd that go? How was that? Was that a tough time?
I mean, yes and no. The nice part is I have, one of the most incredible wives, and so talk about one of the reasons why I'm successful is because of her support. So that plays a big part. We've been together since high school, so we're one of those, right? We've been together a long time. She supported me through so much, and the nice part is when I kind of started down this journey with Speech Cloud, we're decently frugal. So we've been living off savings for the past 3 years. We have a daughter as well. So luckily enough, because we just kind of saved everything, instead of buying a house, right? It's all funneled into just keeping us afloat, right? So that really, she's been phenomenal at every step. That's kind of how we've been able to do this, and
So
make it to
how
now.
about personally, a big setback? You're like, oh my hell! I'm guessing that's what happened, right? You're like, this business with the crap. I mean, what was that like? I mean,
Yeah, I don't know. It's again, so many. I feel like so many entrepreneurs are like this, but like every time something happened, like crap hit the fan, you kind of were you're just like, all right, get through this, and we can make it to the next point. And really, it's just those moments of just such euphoria and positivity of like these awesome moments kind of have just coasted me through all the negative, and just feeling like just a little bit further, right?
Yes.
Just a little bit more. And I somehow keep just telling myself that. So I don't know what it is, and maybe it's just the insanity, but you just feel like it's just like this.
That
much
close.
more.
And so you just use your positive mindset to get you through the tough times. Sounds like, huh?
Yeah, basically. Yeah, you just kind of weather it. But yeah.
Wow. So, best advice you would give somebody who either in the very beginning or in the middle of crap at the fan type situation, what would you tell them in that situation?
Yeah, best advice. Treat this experience of building a company as a learning experience and not as a failure. So, because even if your first company fails, kind of like how ours did, it's now allowed me to, on the second iteration, do it 10 times better and 10 times faster. So to me, it's just go and start something. I think that's the fallacy is you need a perfect idea. right? My original idea was an app to help somebody that was deaf, right? And that just was in no way feasible due to so many reasons. But because I started the journey, it's brought us to now an insanely different product, but now a product that is actually, growing and has a lot of potential. So that to me is the biggest advice, is just, doesn't matter what it is, go try to start it, go validate it, go research, go learn, and that will just help you kind of figure out really what is the correct business to start.
Okay. And then the last thing I always like to ask is, has there been a book? And if there was a book that made a huge difference to you or life, or what would you recommend and why?
Yeah, I love to read. I'm actually a fantasy guy, but so I won't talk about fantasy, but I guess business book. It sounds maybe a little antiquated, but I really liked this book, that Creativity Inc. I think a lot of people may talk about it, but it is a phenomenal read to just help you understand, just even if you have a good idea and just kind of going through the hard times and just following your passion. I love Creativity Inc. I think it's a phenomenal book. And it's an alumni, right? University of Utah. So gotta love that. But I think that's a book that so many people should read, because I think the base point of entrepreneurship is creativity. So
Okay. All right. Well, that's great. I want to thank you, Kevin. It's been great to hear your journey and to, what a positive. I mean, you went through some tough stuff. To hear positive deal, just keep pushing through, and best luck as you build this speech cloud. And so, hey, if somebody wants to get a hold of you, or learn more about your company, what would they do?
yeah, I mean, I'm on LinkedIn. Reach out. I'm getting more and more active on there. So happily reach out there, message me, let's chat.
Cameron Stoker, right?
Yep, Cameron Stoker. So I guess I only wrote Cameron here, but yeah, Stoker, Stoker. Reach out. Love to hear from you. If you guys need advice, I feel like, especially if you're doing something social impact related, I think that's something that is close to my heart. And a lot of times why so many companies fail is understanding the pitfalls of starting a company that's focused on social impact. So, of
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much.
course, thanks so much, Michael.